Welcome to the Tony Casillas Show. I am the namesake, TC, Tony Casillas, and I am so excited about having my own podcast, and I'm equally excited about who my first inaugural guest is, but I'll get to that later. Each week, I'm going to provide you with interesting guests, whether it's a celebrity, whether it's an athlete, whether it's an American hero, military veteran, whether it's a business entrepreneur, people that are making impact, our first responders, because we know the climate we live in with COVID, man, they've been very impactful to our society. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about an array of different things during our interview. And trust me, I may ask a lot of really, really interesting questions, but this is what this show's about. We're going to talk about life lessons, whether it's in the business, whether it's failures, successes. We're going to get in depth and find out what's going on. And two of the segments we're going to do weekly is called our X's and O's and binge watching. X's and O's is not your conventional when you talk about game planning. X's and O's of dating, relationships, advice for marriage, those type of things. And something that we've all been openly about and talked about during this COVID-19 is binge watching. What do you binge watch? I know I binge watch a ton of programming, but we're going to ask them what they've been binge watching and what they recommend. What's their must watches, if you will. And of course, we got to talk about football because hell, it's in my DNA. We're going to get my thoughts and take on the Cowboys' last game and the upcoming games and look at the NFL schedule. But here's what I really want you guys to do, because this is a show we all participate. I want you to follow us during the social media and make your comments, because guess what? We're going to give you some really, really nice prizes in the future. So make sure you're very active on social media, because that's our highway to connection, and make sure you follow us during our broadcast. As mentioned before, off the top of the show, I said that I wanted to bring in inaugural, someone special, someone charismatic, someone that's timeless. And I couldn't think of a better guy than the great, great Drew Pearson. I mean, I think I need to introduce you, Drew, but I want to ask you, while I introduce you, you're the original number 88, the great Drew Pearson with the Dallas Cowboys, Ring of Honor, and future Pro Football Hall of Famer, brother.
Yes. Well, thanks for having me on, Tony. Yeah. I like what you call me, timeless. I like that because, I seem like I really have been. It's been over 40 years since I played, but people come up to me and, they treat me like I still play for the Cowboys. And so that's a pretty good feeling that people still look at you that way. And, you can present yourself like that. You look in great shape. I try to keep in shape myself because I don't ever want anybody to come up to me, Tony, and say, hey, you played wide receiver that big? So I like to stay in shape,
Yeah, I have some former teammates that they ask that question. So that's a great point. I think that I'd like to start here because everyone the familiarity that they have with different players, and especially you in Dallas, and one of the greatest players that's ever wore a star in his helmet. But I'd like to just kind of go back in time and really just kind of, a place in time, really how you got started, how you had this really passion for football and the journey that ultimately led you there.
Yeah. Tony, when I got that call back in August that from David Baker from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, saying that you're senior nominee and the finalist for that. And that's like, almost a sure thing that you're going to get into the Hall of Fame. And the thing I thought about first is where I came from and the things I did as a kid, like the question you're asking, what did I do along the way? I never dreamt of being a Hall of Famer when I was a kid. Man, that goal, that was too lofty for anybody at a young age to be dreaming of. But I did dream of being a pro athlete. And I think about all the time, I played Pop Warner football, tackle football at 7 years old. I was so small, they didn't have pants that fit me. I played in jeans. They rolled up my jeans put pads in my jeans.
That's an interesting uniform.
A belt on. And I was thinking about all those kind of things I went through, just our town, South River, it's a football sports oriented town, but football is it. And if you're a boy growing up in South River, your dream is to play high school football for South River High School Rams. And we had a history of great people coming through the high school and stuff like that. And you wanted to follow them. And you did all those things that you needed to do to be in that position to play for South River High School. And you thought about all those kind of things you did, running and jogging through the town and all that kind of stuff. And then you go play high school football and you have success and you go to Tulsa, Tulsa, Oklahoma. You go from New Jersey to Tulsa. And how bad that was, I got a great education at Tulsa, but football-wise, we didn't do very well. I had 3 head coaches in 4 years, 3 losing seasons in 4 years, and 3 years of probation in the 4 years I was there. So, you go through that, and then you end up as a free agent with the Dallas Cowboys, and bam, now things are really starting to happen for you. But you don't get there unless all these other things happen to you along the way, and you overcome all these things along the way. And Tony, when I got into the Cowboy Ring of Honor, I said, especially my kids, and my family and relatives, my grandkids, I said, don't judge me by my name being up there. Judge me how I got there, Don't honor the man, honor the mission, what it took to get there. And that's what it would have been. And that's what I thought about when I got that call from the David Baker, all the things you accomplished and overcame along the way to get in that position to be considered for the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
And that's amazing, the mission. People, they see the finished product, but they don't know what all the hard work that went into it to get you on top of the mountain. Was there anyone that was instrumental, a mentor? We always need to, garner some emotional support and someone to just push us along. Was there a mentor or someone in your life that really, really was impactful to kind of push you along and get you where you eventually wanted to go?
Absolutely. Every step of the way, somebody's been there. The only time I really didn't have good mentorship was that time I was at Tulsa because of the 3 head coaches and all that kind of stuff. The football program was in shambles most of the time and probation and all that. But in high school, first of all, in my household, my mom and dad, established the mentorship that I needed to follow by setting the necessary guidelines through discipline that I needed to follow. We had no pass, no play in our household way back in the day. We didn't have to have the state legislate that, okay? My dad was the one legislating that, okay? So, that mentorship, and he stressed that, sports were important to him because he played as a kid growing up and all that, my mom too. But he also stressed academics were the most important thing. And if we didn't get the grades, we weren't going to play. But if we got the grades, he said, hey, if you're going to be a boy in my house, you're going to either go to practice after school, play some kind of sports, or go to work, okay? So the 3 boys in the family, we all went to practice. So anyway, the mentorship started there with my parents. And then, I had that lapse in mentorship at Tulsa, but then it picked up with the Cowboys, And, I'm only 21, 22 going into that environment. I haven't really established myself as an adult, and what path I want to follow. What do I want to be like in my adult life, So now I'm around Staubach and Landry and, Bob Hayes and Lilly and all these great people. And I know they're great football players, but let me tell you, Tony, they were great people too. And if you were smart enough, you watched how they did things. And they not only taught you how to be a good football player, but they taught you how to be a professional, not only on the field, but off the field as well, how to carry yourself, how to speak, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, you have those mentorships all along the way that, that you want if you get that opportunity at a Hall of Fame induction speech, those are the kind of people you want to thank along the way for helping you get to that point. There's no question about that.
And those names you just mentioned, the who's who, the Staubachs, Tom Landry's, the names that go on and on. What was it like when you were drafted by the Cowboys? What was your initial thought and reaction when you saw those guys in living color?
Well, first of all, Tony, I wasn't drafted. I signed as a free agent.
That's right, undrafted.
I'm still upset about that. Okay, they had 17 rounds of the draft, 450 some players, and I still didn't get drafted.
Let's blame it on Tulsa.
Over that, you got to move on. But anyway, I had a chance as an undrafted free agent to sign with Green Bay, Pittsburgh, or Dallas, and Green Bay wasn't really much in the picture, even though, this. Not getting drafted, I was very disappointed. Man, it was tough to go through that, thinking that you're going to get drafted. Your dream might not be able to be realized, and that might be the end to the opportunity to realize your dream, your 4 years of college football. So when the calls came in, I was, got feeling better because it was the Green Bay Packers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cowboys, 3 storied franchises in the NFL. So Green Bay, I wasn't even in the running, but Pittsburgh was very close. They offered more money. One of the Rooneys came to Tulsa. They bought me a dinner and everything, and they almost had me at dinner, free meal in college. That's a big deal. So they almost had me at dinner, but Tom Landry and the Cowboys, that's all we watched when I was at Tulsa. That's the only thing that ever came on TV was the Dallas Cowboys. And then I'm saying, wow, if I could play for them, that would be the best way to go. So I ended up signing with the Cowboys for $14,500. And don't you laugh, Tony. Here's my signing bonus was $150. Okay, $150.
Hey, I'm not laughing.
$150.
Yeah, but you're probably smart enough business-wise.
I know you got more than that.
You probably still have that $150 you earned. Me, on the other hand, that's another story. But hey,
no. They paid me in cash. That didn't make it back to the apartment.
What was the first thing? I was going to say, what was the first thing you did with that $150 worth of cash?
We went to the dorm. I went to the dorm and had a party with the boys, drinking that Boone's Farm.
Nice.
I was married, Tony, at the time. I got married right before my senior year at Tulsa to Marcus Haynes, a legendary Harlem Globetrotter.
Absolutely.
His daughter.
Yep.
Yeah. So, after I got the $150, I went back to the apartment that we had and told my wife at that time we only got $75, and then went to the dorm and had a party with the boys with the other $75. So that's how.
Did she ever find out?
My signing bonus.
Did she ever find out about the other $75?
Yeah,
Is that why she's your ex-wife? No, I'm just kidding. Hey, and I apologize for mentioning that you were drafted because, they even makes the story and the mission even more rewarding. And how much of that is a chip on your shoulder when you're not undrafted, where you want to prove everyone wrong? And is that something, because I know a lot of people go on in life, but how important is that to your success to really kind of live with that type of, not syndrome, but just the fact that you're an overachiever?
Absolutely. It played a major part because every time I did anything, Tony, to try to make that team, I thought about that feeling that I had when I never got that call that night.
Yeah. And
how sad and crying and disappointing and almost realizing the opportunity that you might not have an opportunity to realize your dream to play pro sports. And so, every time I took a lap, with Coach Landry, we had to take those 2 laps before practice to warm up. I would run that lap thinking about that feeling and wanting this day to be one of those things. I had a philosophy to live to play another day in training camp. I took training camp one day at a time. I wanted to win each day along the way and see if that was good enough, at the end to be there, first of all,
right,
and to hopefully to be a Dallas Cowboy. But Tony, I had made it through training camp, and the Cowboys had cut me on the last cut. And the Chicago Bears claimed me. And the Cowboys had 24 hours to recall me. And they recalled me through that process. So I could easily have been a Chicago Bear. And I didn't know this until later. You know, Gil Brandt told me all about this. But because if I had known that at that time, because I didn't, you know, once you make the team, you never hear that knock, you know, or you got cut, bring the playbook.
Yeah, the Grim Reaper. Yeah.
You know, once you don't hear that, you know, you're like saying, okay, but knowing that you might have been that close to hearing that, you know, it's like scary. So anyway, I never heard that knock, and the Cowboys recalled me, and as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah, and you got so many great moments in your career. You know, as far as receiving yards and you're remarkable what you done on the football field. Obviously, the play when I look back at your career is the Hail Mary catch in the '75 divisional playoff game versus the Minnesota Vikings. And what was that to be referred to Hail Mary and kind of be the originator of one of those plays? I mean, how does that make you feel? And what was the whole thought process when you go back? And I'm sure it's vivid, but when you think about it today, what does that bring up as far as the memory?
Well, first of all, it's almost asked of me or asked about it on a daily basis. Yeah. It's still alive.
That's a true story, right? It's
still alive.
Still vivid.
And, the term Hail Mary keeps it alive because Hail Mary has infiltrated not from a religious sense only, but it has infiltrated to a sports vernacular, a life vernacular, a religious vernacular, a charitable vernacular. Every aspect of our lives, we've had Hail Mary moments in those lives, but we just didn't know what to call those moments. Mm-hmm. So when Roger said after a game, they asked Roger what happened on the play. He said, I threw the ball as far as I could. I closed my eyes and I said a Hail Mary. And next day in the paper, it reads, the headlines read, Cowboys win by a Hail Mary.
That's
and
good.
Boom, that phrase took off from there.
That's amazing.
And now you hear it. I hear it everywhere. I heard it twice this past weekend in different games. You hear it on the college level. You hear it on the pro level. You hear it in basketball. You hear it in baseball. So it's really cool to be associated with a play that meant so much to Dallas Cowboy history, but also because of the recognition it got and the label that it's gotten, it means it means a lot, or maybe in just as much in NFL history. Yeah. So it's regarded as one of the top plays in NFL history. So, but here's a guy, a Baptist. Okay, I'm a Baptist from New Jersey, and I'm known for a Hail Mary. Okay, I had to ask Roger, what is a Hail Mary? Okay? I would have said hallelujah. Roger I caught it and said hallelujah, or something like that. But, that's how things work out. That's the mission, to get to that Ring of Honor.
Well, being a Catholic, I know what Hail Mary is. So
there you go.
But when in reference to you, it's that pass, that touchdown pass. So we mentioned Roger, and he's he's a gem. And he's the all-time player in Cowboys history, and you're not too far behind him. But give me a story about Roger Staubach that we might not know, that if he found out you told us, he'd be very embarrassed.
Oh, man.
Come on, Drew. You got one.
He's such a straight arrow, man.
You can't embellish when it comes to to Roger. But I mean, in a huddle, one of those huddle stories that maybe he told you, and something that a moment you guys shared with you, like, man, this dude is amazing. He's special.
Well, when he comes in the huddle, he had complete command. He had that military background. Yeah. And so he knew how to command that respect in the huddle. So we were pretty much no nonsense. The guys joking around out there, it didn't take Roger to get him in line. It took anybody to straighten him out, because we were serious. Mm-hmm. Tony, to take that risk to play football, everybody got to be on that same page. I can't have, if I'm going to run over the middle to catch that ball, I can't have Billy Joe Dupree not coming across clearing it out for me. And then making a mistake, not being there. So we were pretty serious. But Roger, I guess coming back on the plane, we would always been able to get a beer and drink on the plane. Coach Landry would let us have a beer. At first, when I got to the league, we had no restriction. You can drink all you want. Well, of course, we abused that. Okay,
well, hey, if you're winning, you can drink.
Oh yeah,
and you guys won a lot.
You guys used to
responsibly.
Do in college, the bottom of the can and stuff like that. Anyway, so we had too much beer, so he restricted to two beers apiece. So everybody would try to get Roger's beers because we knew he wasn't going to drink his beer. So one day he decides to keep his beer, all right? And it's a long flight from D.C. back to Dallas. And so he drank his 2 beers. And next thing you know, before we landed, he's back in it. He's knocked out. I mean, he just played an NFL football game on national TV. I know it was a Monday night game. So we had on the East Coast, that was a 9 o'clock kickoff. I know we finished late. And, I don't know if you guys did it, but when we played in RFK, if you played a night game, you couldn't leave at a national airport because of the sound noise and all that, the airplane noise. So you had to drive all the way out to Dulles Airport, which was an hour drive.
Oh, no, that's a long trip right there. There's a lot of drinking to be had then.
Right. By the time you got off the ground in the air, it's a little while since the game, but not long enough to have a couple beers and fall asleep. We landed, we woke Roger up. He said, "Where am I? What are we doing? What happened?" Anyway, that's a pretty cool story about Roger.
I love that. That's a great story. I wanted to ask you this because I think that we all look at our career and we go back and there's something we may have done or may have not done. Any regrets when you look back that something you may have just left on the table or some, in a relationship or something you thought maybe you should have done before you left the game?
No, I just wish I could have played a little longer. I played 11 seasons and I only missed 3 games in that process. So I was getting ready to sign a new contract at that point. It's the first contract I ever played out. You start at 14-5. I negotiated and I'm starting my rookie year, 10th game of my rookie year. So I'm negotiating, my first 5 years in the league to get up to speed. So now I'm in my 11th season and they were starting to, throw that money around a little bit. And I wanted some and we were negotiating and trying to get it. And since I hadn't been hurt and felt good, I figured I could play another 3 or 4 more years. But then I had a car accident and, on LBJ here,
mm-hmm.
and I lost my brother in that accident, and it wiped me out where I broke my clavicle, lacerated liver, serious condition and stuff like that. So, I'm disappointed. I lost my brother, and that's, how could you be so selfish to say that you just lost an NFL career, by that? But at the same time, that it took that away too, okay? That accident. That tragedy took that away too. So you wish you could have extended a little longer. I wish I could have played a little longer for Coach Landry, another 3 years. I might have learned a little more. Tony, when I got out of the game, I was thinking about this today. When I got out of the game, I got it into the marketing business. I sold baseball caps, licensed headwear and all that.
Oh, I remember. I know that your business when it started.
Yeah, I did it for 23 years. And all the acumen and knowledge about that was learned from the Cowboys. 11 years sitting in there. And then after I couldn't come back after the 11th season, I coached for 1 year with Coach Landry. And now I'm on the inside of the organization. I could really see what's going on. But all my marketing and PR knowledge and business acumen came from watching the Cowboys, watching Tex Schramm, Gil Brandt, Clint Murchison, even the owner of the Cowboys.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And of course, Coach Landry, how organized he was. So I was able to, take all that and turn it into a life after football. But at the same time, I wish I could have played another 3 or 4 more years, only so I could see what I could have accomplished, at that time. Because I would have been 37, 38 years old at that point, So I just wanted to see what I could have maybe accomplished, if I was able to end end my career like I wanted to end it.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about Coach Landry. You mentioned that he gave you some life lessons, and you mentioned that you wish you could have played longer for him. But I guess if you had to just do in a short paragraph or even a sentence, how would you describe that man?
Honorable, walk the walk. No, he talked the talk and he walked the walk. And it was faith, it was family, and it was football or whatever else was important in your life. And even with his strong faith, he only exuded that by the way he carried himself and what he did. He didn't have us praying before meetings and, all that kind of stuff. We prayed before the game. Yeah. We prayed after games. That's a normal thing. You've done that all through playing football. But, he didn't force his religion on anyone or the way he lived his life through his religion and his faith on anyone. But if you're smart enough, you pick that up and you lived your life that way as well. Now all of us, we didn't. Now, we didn't live it exactly like Coach Landry, because back in the day, we didn't have these cell phones or anything. So, we played hard, but we partied hard too.
Thank God.
But just being around Coach Landry, I just learned so much from him. And, while you're playing, I found this out when I coached with him for a year, and I'm in all these meetings, and hell, I even took a shower with Coach Landry. Oh my God, you don't want that ever.
I was gonna say that sounds too intimate. That's too much. That's TMI. That's too much information.
Let me know when you're done. But you learn so much, from that man that you can use in your life after football. And he was preparing you that way. That's why we wore the suits and ties to games. We carried briefcases. We were studying the computer printout way back in the early 70s, tendencies of our opponent. Everything run with the football team was run just like the Cowboy business, like a business. And so that's how Coach Landry ran the team. And, if you're smart enough, you learn from that. All my marketing and PR, negotiating expertise, business acumen, everything came from being around the Cowboys. I got a great education at Tulsa, but my real education is like, if you go through a teaching curriculum in college, you got at the end of that, you got to do the practicum, the on-hands teaching, visit the classrooms and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're ready to go. Well, when you get into a situation with Coach Landry, it's that on-hand teaching right there. It's the extension of your college career. Now you're in this situation. So if you're smart enough, you learn.
That's amazing. That's a great point, because I know that my generation, we made more money and I was very blessed. But I don't know if we watched the way people ran business. And certainly back in your era, you mentioned it, you got $150 in cash for a signing bonus. You had to probably learn a little bit more and absorb the educational business savvy.
Oh, yeah. I worked every offseason I played in the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm catching playoff touchdowns my rookie year in December. In February, I'm selling shoes and sporting goods at Cullman Boren Sporting Goods store. I had to have a job in the offseason, okay? That 14-5 went real quick, because once you make the Cowboys, Tony, they say success is relative. Mm-hmm. The more success, the more relatives you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everybody thinks you're playing pro football. They think you're a millionaire.
I know. And they want to borrow money, or they want you to give it to them.
Right. Exactly. And if you don't, you're a bad guy. So you feel a little guilty. So you do what you can do, the best you can. But as soon as the season was over, my rookie year, me, Harvey Martin, Billy Joe Dupree, we went up to the Zales Corporation, downtown Dallas, met with the head CEO of the Zales Corporation, sat in front of him and said, we need a job. We need a job. He just saw us playing out there on the field on national TV.
That's
and
crazy.
We're saying we need a job. So he gave us a job in Zales Corporation owned the Cullman Boren Sporting Goods stores. So he gave us jobs in the sporting goods stores, and that was my first job in the off season of being a Dallas Cowboy. But I worked every off season that I played for the Cowboys. We all did.
Hey, real quick, we're gonna. I want you. You mentioned life after football, and you've been just a very successful business entrepreneur. You're involved in a lot of philanthropy things. I know the Susie G. Coleman, you're a big advocate of that with your with the history in your family and with breast cancer. But real quick, and I know you do a lot of media and TV, and you're just all over the place. Kind of give me kind of an update, what you got going on now, and what you're looking forward in the upcoming future.
Well, Tony, now I'm just pretty much idling. I'm waiting for this pandemic to lighten up a little bit so that we can get things back as close to normal as possible. I had a restaurant. I have a restaurant at DFW Airport in Terminal E near Gate 5, servicing most of the United Airlines gates in that part of the terminal and the airport. And that's been shut down since the end of January. And so, we've been trying to get that ramped back up. And, a lot of my personal appearances and things of that nature were cut off because of the COVID and people not getting together. But, you got to reboot, this is going on. You got to reboot yourself and find new ways of doing things. And so what I've done is rebooted myself in a way that I'm doing a lot of virtual appearances via Zoom and all these other things. I didn't even know this was available. I didn't even know about FaceTime. My grandkids are FaceTiming that. I say, what is this? They're right there. I can almost touch them, So
that's called the Generation Z's.
All right.
As someone told me, our producer told me, Kevin. So, but but did you ever think in your wildest dreams that we experience in our lifetime, let alone our kids' lifetime, kids' lifetime, we'd experience this type of pandemic and this whole the COVID-19 that we're going through now? It's crazy.
No. You know why, Tony? Because I thought we were too smart to let something like this happen.
Yeah.
It's
a good point.
A nation. We should be too smart. We got too many bright people to let something like this happen. Whether it's national security, whether it's the scientists, whether it's our leadership in government, whatever it is, we got too many smart people to not know this was coming and not prepare for it the way we should have. So it wouldn't have, you see the numbers going up. Over 200,000 people in the U.S. have lost their lives. And the shame of that is that they're just a number. We don't even know names. They just say, well, the tally keeps going up. Yeah. Well, who is the tally?
Yeah.
Who just died? Stuff like that. And that's what makes it so cold. But anyway, we should have been too smart as a country. We can detect missiles and excuse me, I started to say something. We
you can say it.
Missiles
there's no 8-second button on this show.
Coming out of the air, coming through mountains and everything else. But so we should have been smart enough to detect this and be able to come up with something, some way, somehow to not let it become the pandemic that it has become.
Yeah, 2020 is it's just been a crappy year, and hopefully 2021 will be better. Also, the whole social injustice, and I want to ask you and get your take on the platform professional athletes should take when it comes to protesting, when it comes to making their point. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I don't know. I'm for that, because it's an opportunity to keep the dialogue going, to keep the narrative going in the right direction.
Right.
Because people see that, they see why they're doing it. And now, because of George Floyd and other incidents, we have a better understanding why a player might kneel at the national anthem. It's not about the flag. It's about, the disrespect that people are showing people of color towards the flag, what the flag represents. And so now we have a better understanding about that. And now these athletes not only talk the talk, but they walk the walk because they put their money, to action, where their word, or they allow their money put their words into action. Okay. Michael Jordan has given over $100 million to the cause, $10 million a year plus more than that, Drew Brees, $500,000 and stuff like that. So, that's important. But it's also important that people, when they see that, they still know that everything's not okay yet. Okay. We need to turn these protests, we need to turn this dialogue into policies and statements to start changing things. And athletes now, because of the social media platforms that is available to them and the followings that they have, I'm okay for them to speak out if they feel in their hearts that speaking out is the right thing to do. Absolutely.
Yeah, well said. Before we get into a couple of segments we do on my show, I got to ask you this. Last year, whenever, and I'm sure this is like a vivid emotion in your heart, when the announcement of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and we all saw that unfold, we all saw that on television. We saw your pain and anguish that you didn't get selected, and now you're on the the senior vote for the only senior nominee for 2021 induction. But take us back to that moment, because as I said, I feel for you, brother. I mean, I was right there at the pain. I wanted to go down there and kick someone's ass for you, but I couldn't. But take us back, and how did you really feel? I mean, that when you found out you weren't going to go into the Hall of Fame.
Well, Tony, what you saw was real.
Yeah.
All right. That's what I felt. And, I'm a private person generally.
Mm-hmm.
People, when they see me in public, they think, he's so outgoing and everything. But when I'm in my house around my family, I'm the last one saying anything. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm more interested and rather be in that kind of environment than out in public, even though I still enjoy that. But, I'm so with that in mind, I didn't even think about being exposed that way, because I didn't think that I would not get in. Now, I wasn't overconfident, but I thought this might be the best way for the Pro Football Hall of Fame committee to clean up the mistake they have been making for years. Like you being a first team all decade, the only one on the first team all decade not in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
So I thought this might be a way. And then I saw Harold Carmichael, who was second team on the all-decade team of the 70s, go in. And I'm looking at my phone thinking, wow, I must be getting a call pretty soon. Somebody called me, make sure my phone's still working, stuff like that. But when I didn't get the call and it ended, what you saw was raw emotion. And the reason you saw is because I had everybody there. I worked for mostly every radio and TV station in this market over the years since I've been here. So if one guy asks, can I come to be part of that or film it? Then you say, yeah. And then the next guy, you can't say no. So
and you thought it was going to be a celebration.
Tony, I was a finalist. Okay.
Yeah.
I've never been a finalist before. I don't know how finalists are supposed to act. Okay.
Right.
So I wanted everybody to be part of this, especially my family, especially a lot of close friends. So everybody was at my house, and what you saw was raw emotion when I didn't get the word. I was heartbroken. I was disappointed. But you know what? That was only for a few minutes. I overcame that shortly after that. I was okay after that, because I'm thinking about, okay, maybe this is not my time. Faith is really important to me.
Yeah.
And my belief is really important. And I know God has a plan for me. After going through a car accident, losing my brother, and I'm still here, God's got a plan for me. And it's not a plan for disaster. It's a plan for hope. And so that's what I relied on. And so here's the deal, Tony. What about that plan I'm speaking about? 8 months later, okay, I get a call. I don't even have to wait a year. I go from January to August, I get a call, and I go from sorrow to gladness in 8 months.
Yeah.
The Lord, he works that way, man. And so anyway, what you saw was real emotion, and I exposed myself to the world. And that was real. Now, Kardashians and all that, Terry Bradshaw's reality show, that's all fake.
But yeah, so it sounds to me you learned a whole different experience in life, and something that was really, really bad ended up being really, really good, because barring a miracle that they don't vote you in, you'll be into the 2021 inductee class. So I don't want to jinx you, but this is early. Congratulations. It's not etched in stone, but I don't think it's going to be a problem this time around, but big guy. All right, Drew. I think we all know this is a big year when it comes to voting in November. And how important is to you to tell everyone to get out there and vote and make sure you register to vote? Because if you're not voting, you're not making an impact.
Oh, that's true. And if you haven't heard, if you don't listen to anything I've said up until this point, there's a great interview with you, Tony. Listen to this. Get your butt out there and vote, okay? If you don't get out and vote, don't complain. Complain what's ever left, okay? But you have an opportunity to either way you want to vote. You have an opportunity to influence that. So take advantage of that opportunity. Get you out there and vote. V-O-T-E.
Hail Mary, baby. Go out and vote.
If you want to change something, you got to vote. We have that. That's a right we have. And if we don't vote, we might not have that right very, very often.
Amen. And you can't complain. All right. So we do two segments on our show weekly. The first one is called the X's and O's, and the X's and O's of life. So I'm going to ask you, it's related to relationships, dating, advice you would give for marriage. I think that you have a grandson. Well, I know you have a grandson that's at Colorado, and I hope that's going well for him. But what kind of advice, now, because these guys are called the Generation Zs, I believe, and everything's done on apps and iPhones and everything else. But with everything that we know, because let's face it, we're seasoned veterans when it comes to relationships and experience. What advice will you give your grandson and every young kid out there? Because it is generalizational.
Well, first of all, it's social media. You got to give them some advice on how to use social media. Use it to your advantage, not to where it becomes a detriment to you anywhere along the line, or harmful to someone else. And you got to be selective, because we hear all the time, once you push send, you can't get it back once it gets out there. So with social media, these kids need to be a little more selective of the choices that they make, because there's so many more choices they have an opportunity to make compared to what we had, coming through. So, I just tell my grandkids and my kids as well. I'm proud of my two daughters and my one son. The thing I'm most proud of is the fact that they've gotten great educations through college, and some, higher than that to the master's level. And then they've never been in trouble. And the two daughters turned out to be sensational, unbelievable parents, And I'm not saying they learned that from me, but they are a lot tough. I thought I was tough on my kids, because my dad was tough on me, and that kind of passed that on, how to raise my kids. But no, they're a lot tougher on their kids than I ever was. So I'm proud of how they've become parents, and I'm proud of my son out in L.A. He's graduated from Loyola Marymount and stayed out there. He's in graphic designing and stuff like that. So I just, want to make sure they, what I wanted for my kids, to make sure they got a good education, stayed out of trouble, and do the right thing. Simple.
Yeah.
And I tell my grandkids the same thing. Get that education, stay out of trouble, and do the right thing. And that's why grandpop don't give you that much money, because money is the root of all evil.
That's 3 huts. As far as the apps, could you imagine swiping right and swiping left back in your day? And on my day, I couldn't imagine that, how it's kind of desensitized everything as far as relationships and all that. But that's another story. As far as being romantic, and I don't know what your current situation is as far as your relationship or anything, but what is something that's kind of your go-to if I want to romanticize someone and really show someone that they're really special? What is a hut go-to when it comes to
my go-to, it's gone and went. Okay.
Gone and went.
I don't know what my go-to is anymore. I've been in a relationship, but I'm
is
not
that out
right
of a
now.
movie? Oh, that's Gone in the Wind, right?
Yeah, Gone in the Wind. But I'm still getting recognized out there. I still try to keep date, just in case somebody thinks I'm worthy of spending some time with. And I am available right now. So you want to, highlight that part of your podcast here.
Hey, do you want to? Maybe we should just build you a profile right now on one of those apps.
Yeah, but I'm going to be on.
You don't need any help with that.
Going that way, because the original 88 would get all kinds of responses from that. I'm not bragging or anything, but some of them would just want tickets to a game, not
All right, my last one, part of this X and O's segment. So I'm going to ask you again, Hut. When it comes to getting out of the doghouse, any tips on flowers or back massages? What do you recommend as far as just get out of the doghouse free?
Well, sometimes it's just a matter of something simple like paying more attention to what they're doing.
That's true.
Kind of listening. Most of the time they're talking, but you're not
listening to that out there.
You're not listening, but maybe listen. So now you know how to respond to them, and you can respond in an intelligent way. But other than that, a little hug once in a while, a little kiss there, little touch, so it shows of affection. If you don't have that in your relationship, you've been married a lot longer than I ever been married, Tony. I was married once, 10 years. And, I think the mistake there was, at the end, there wasn't that show of affection,
Well, how do you rekindle that? I'm going to ask you, how do you rekindle that? I've been married that for 23 years. Not that I have a problem with that. But what do you recommend for rekindling, keeping the fire going?
Well, there's a lot of sexual wellness treatment centers out there. You hear the advertising all the time on the radio. That might be the way
I don't know. I don't know if that's my issue.
You might be in that category right now. I don't know if you're in that category.
Hey, I appreciate that.
That will definitely keep the thing going.
That's for sure. All right.
But if you don't want the science to be involved, then you just better do the things you think that come natural.
Another segment we do on our show because of COVID-19 is we're all watching a lot of TV, Netflix, and whatever it may be, Hulu, Amazon, whatever, Prime, whatever it may be. What's something that you've watched over this whole COVID-19 over the last 6 months, 7 months? As you mentioned earlier, it's gone longer than it should have. But any shows have you watched? I mean, speaking of Kardashians, you a Kardashian fan? Or I wouldn't even think that would come out of your mouth.
No, I know. That's about it. That's about what I know. But no, I watch all sports. Okay. I don't watch movies. I don't have time for movies. Mm-hmm. I like to watch game shows. I like The Price is Right. I like I like Jeopardy. Jeopardy's my favorite show.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
going, keeps things functioning in my brain. And I like Steve Harvey and A Family Feud because he makes me laugh the whole time. But other than that, it's The Young and the Restless and The Bold and the Beautiful.
Oh, wow.
And, they took a hiatus for a while because of the pandemic, but now they're back doing their thing again. And I'm happy about that. And I'm a big Victor Newman fan on The Young and the Restless. I had a cameo appearance on that show.
Really?
Yeah,
we need
about a year ago, back in June.
We need to make sure we find that. We'll have to generate that somewhere and channel that in.
June 30th, 2018 episode. And I was Victor Newman's bodyguard in that. So, but I've been a fan of The Young and the Restless ever since I played with the Cowboys. And then The Bold and Beautiful came along. So, but I'm not a movie guy. The last movie I went to see, because people really don't go to the movies now.
Yeah.
But the last movie I went to see and sat through in duration was Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, that's not a bad one to sit through. Was that about 25 years ago?
No, more than that.
Oh, okay. I was giving you the benefit of the
more than that. But anyway, that's my movie movie background, TV background, and that's what I like to do. I like sports. I'm watching tennis right now. We got the Roland Garros, what do they call that? The clay court tournament out in Paris. And that's on now. It's live because the time change over there. But, you know, I watch the basketball, the baseball, I watch football, the college. And that was the thing, you know, most of us were going stir crazy during this pandemic, Tony.
In those sports.
Sports was cut off.
Yeah.
You know, that's an outlet for a lot of people just to, you know, watch something real on TV, exciting. Mm-hmm. And then look at how these NBA games have been played, man. They're really exciting. And look at some of these NFL games. You know, you think about these guys going out there, Tony, with no OTAs, no training camp, no preseason games. And the first thing they do when they hit the field is they're playing live football, you know, live contact football in between those lines in the NFL. And you know how that is. And you know, if you can come out of a game after not going through that process of being able to take those hits, you know, you're lucky. You're lucky. And that's why they have so many injuries in the NFL this season, because the guys didn't go through the process of trying to avoid injuries by being in the best shape possible.
Yeah, we got to give a shout out. This show will air next week, October 7th, and the Stars had already lost the Stanley Cup final. But what a tremendous series that was. And you talk about playing in a bubble and that excitement and feeling it. I mean, those guys have nothing to be ashamed. I mean, what a great series. And I'm not afraid to admit I am a bandwagon fan. I didn't watch any hockey, but, man, I was glued to the TV from beginning to end in that series.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. If you cared anything about sports and you watch how these guys perform and how they would come back and win and go to overtime and pull it out and all that, you know, I was a kid growing up in New Jersey. I played hockey, but we didn't play hockey by rules. You know, we just put a puck out there. We played, choose up sides, and we played. But watching these guys play and what they give to the game. But here's the deal. I feel bad for them. Not so much that they lost in Game 6 last night, but more so that the fans couldn't enjoy the process, you know, to get to the Stanley Cup. And the players couldn't enjoy what the fans bring to the process to get to the Stanley Cup.
Right.
You know? So even if they win, it'll be, you know, it's nice to win it, but a little anticlimactic. Yeah. But here's the deal. It's nice to have somebody, a pro team from the Dallas-Fort Worth market, thriving for a championship. Oh, my. How long has it been?
Well, I'm going to keep you. Yeah, it's been
Cowboys,
a while. Yeah, it's
Rangers. Somebody wins the what is the soccer team? FC Dallas?
Win something.
Somebody wins. Maybe it's the Cowboys' turn. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I hope so. Well, this segues into my last segment I have, and that would be the Tony's Take. And each week I'm going to cover all my thoughts on the last game the Cowboys played and upcoming games in the National Football League. So since I got one of the greatest Cowboys on my first show, I'd be remiss not to ask you about the Cowboys. And keep in mind, they played the Seahawks last week, and today is the 29th, and they play the Browns this upcoming weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and say the Cowboys are going to be 2-2 before we air our first show. Real quick, what have you learned from the Cowboys early on?
We got some great talent on offense. That offensive line, you know, of course, is beat up, makeshift a little bit, and what they had to do in that Seattle game to finish that football game, and everybody that started the game in the offensive line in one position didn't finish the game in that position. They all moved on to enough. If you're a center, you move the guard. If you're a guard, you move the tackle, and, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. But anyway, the injuries is part of that. But the offense can do a lot. We can put up points. But we got, you know, Tony, I got to give you guys credit. You know why I was able to catch that Hail Mary? Because the defense made a stop to get the ball back for us.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
all right.
That's a tremendous point. Giving the defense some props. Yep.
So they got to get the defense on par, and I thought that would be the least of our problems initially. But then you look at, I might ask you this question. You look at what the new defensive coordinator is bringing as far as his philosophy, and is that make much of a difference to the players? as far as the learning process so that they can know what to do and not be thinking about what to do?
It shouldn't be. And it sounds to me it's more simple, or it's a philosophy that shouldn't be that hard to adjust to. Now, I will give him this because of all the pandemic and the virtual workouts and not having the OTAs and no preseason. But it can't be that difficult. Problem is, Drew, and you know this, you got players that are being paid. You got to go out there and perform, man. You got to get the ball back to the offense.
Take the playbook home and study.
Yeah.
Take the film home and study. You got laptops, you got iPads and everything. You know?
That's a good point.
I'm with you, man. And it's football. It can't be that much different, right? So
right. Anyway,
maybe it's what this is all about. Maybe they need some more heart and courage. They need to go see the wizard, get some courage.
That's right. Well, hopefully they'll be 2-2 going into the Giants weekend and hopefully get back above 500. Hey, Drew, I cannot thank you enough, my man, for having you on my first show. You're classy. I mean, you're one of a kind, and good luck to you, brother. Real quick, people can catch you on Zoom, your Zoom broadcast, right? You're doing a pre and post game show. You want to plug that, and we'll send that out on social media.
It out. I don't know how to call the call letters or the website or whatever, but you can get it through Facebook. Find out through Facebook. But we do a pregame, halftime, and postgame show via Zoom, and give the fans an opportunity to Zoom in, ask the original 88 a question, give your comment about what's going on with the Cowboys in the first half, second half, and, of course, after the game. But you can also get Drew Pearson Legends apparel at cowboylegends.com. If you want a Tony Casillas T-shirt, we can do that. Go to cowboylegends.com. All right.
Wow, you can actually get a T-shirt on that website. I'm gonna have to go order me a couple of them.
Yes.
Might be the first
we can have them made. We can have them made. We have them made domestically.
That's awesome.
Right here.
Amen. USA. Hey, Drew, thanks a lot.
Quick turnaround.
Man. Hey, I appreciate your time, man. Hut.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm honored to be your original guest, to have the original 88 be your original guest.
You got that right. Thank you, man.
They say, hut.
The great Drew Pearson, everyone. Well, that's going to put a wrap on the first episode of the Tony Casillas Show. A big shout out to Drew Pearson, and what a wonderful guest for my first inaugural show. Thanks a lot, my man. Also, I want to remind you guys that you can follow our show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube TV. Make sure you give us a follow, and make sure you tag during the show 5 people so they can share it. And you're going to be surprised. We're going to have some nice prizes to reward you with. So thank you all for watching the show. Hope to see you next week. I'm Tony Casillas. Te amo.